Yeah,
How we doing?
I'm all right, thanks.
Good. Basically, this is for my college. It's a kind of research unit we're doing in Ayrshire College now, and we've been asked to kind of record and kind of get feedback and kind of interviews with different people that's involved in sports. We were asked to kind of choose different topics, so people chose obesity, some people chose like mental health like myself, just like stuff that stands out a wee bit.
Yeah, that's all right.
So basically, there's 5 questions is all I need to ask, and that's really it. Just get the questions now. So we'll start off with the first question. So how do you rate your mental health at the moment?
For me, I'd say mine's is pretty good, even though a lot of things are going bad. I'm still sort of I changed my focus into work, so my mental health's pretty good at the moment. Like, I'm focused on stuff to keep myself busy.
Good. On to the second question. Do you think mental health has an effect on a person's life? And what is the outcome or impacts of this?
I think it does. I think it has a big impact on people's life. I don't think some people realise how bad it can affect, because you could have everything going perfect, but that one thing, your mental health is going down, and people on the outside see everything great, but it's like people then lose like their friends, their family through it, because they've just shut themselves right down. So I think it's a big thing that people need to talk more about and pay more attention to.
Yeah, definitely. On to kind of question 3. What do you think would help a person's mental health lower down from severe to stable?
I think it's just literally people being there. So you don't need to ask someone like loads of questions and into detail what's wrong with them. But I think sometimes someone just like being there, like if somebody says they don't really want someone about, sometimes just even if it's sitting in quiet and silence with them, I think that can help. You don't have to ask 100 questions, because you're not always going to have the answer. And I don't think people expect you to have the answer, but I think it's just people being aware and like being there for people, like just, even if it is just asking someone how their day is. It might be someone you don't talk to or you never really talk to, but just actually that you asking them how their day is, are they feeling all right, could change someone that feels like no one cares.
Yeah, definitely. Right, on to question 4. Do you think mental health should be targeted at sports clubs and within the sports itself?
Definitely, because I think that's where a lot of it goes wrong. A lot of it I don't think we see when you've got athletes and even young kids. I think you just think sort of kids having a bad day, they might be quiet in your class or your session, but I think coaches being more aware of signs of what could be a sign of a kid having mental health, or even just a person being able to at that little bit earlier, could maybe then stop someone getting so deep that they can't pull themselves back out, or it takes longer to pull someone back out of that, like for being as down or the way that some people think.
Yeah, definitely. So see, because you are Olympic medalist for judo.
Commonwealth. Wish I was Olympic Commonwealth medalist.
How do you prepare yourself in the right mental health to go to competitions?
So for me, I'm very lucky. I've always had a sister that did sport with me. So I've always had that family member to pick me up when I'm down, or to know like when I'm going through a really bad stage. But I think for an athlete, like, we hit our highs and everyone's behind you when you're up there and you're winning. It's when you're injured, or when you're not fighting that well, like in judo it's fighting, but in any sport when you're not winning. So even in football, when the teams start doing bad, everyone just jumps on the bandwagon and slagging them, but they've did so well. And sometimes it's just what words people say to you that can bring you down. But I feel like as a full-time athlete and a professional, it's the support team that I have around me. So like having family, I've got a very good family and coaching, and we do have people that we can go and talk to, but not every athlete has that. They don't have that. So I think it's just about finding, even if it's that one person, if it's a friend outside sport that you talk to, but it's when someone's not doing their best, having that support team there to be like, do you know what, you'll get back on top, or even, do you know what, you'll get back to doing your sport. You've been injured, but you'll get back to being able to at least do some of it. Or like, I think in that way, but people don't see that. They just see when you're always winning and everyone's there and cheering you on, but it's all the losses and that can bring an athlete down.
Definitely. So we're on to the last question, which is question 5. Do you think sporting activity can be beneficial or has a disadvantage to a person's mental health?
I think it's a bit of both. I do agree, like when, as I said, when you're achieving the best and everyone's there and you've got that support team, it's brilliant. So if you have been feeling down and then you get that win that you've always been looking for and you've got everyone there and you're on that high, it can help bring someone out their shell, even if it's a small one. It could just be to make a team, and you make that, like achieving that could be a big thing for an athlete. But then also, as I said, like if you get an injury and then you don't have that team behind you, that's where you find a lot of people go like into their shell, especially for judo. Like a thing for judo I'd say is weight. So like if I fight the lightest weight, 48 kilograms, that's hard to maintain when you're getting a bit older. And your body's changing every time, especially for kids. And when you walk into a training session and you know yourself, you've been out injured for like a year or even 6 months, and you know you're not in your peak shape, and then everyone's talking about your weight behind your back, or even just you hear the whispers like, oh, she's not looking like as she used to be, or she's not a 48er anymore, look the size. People don't realise the wee simple comments have a big effect on someone, because then that person's then thinking, oh my God, am I big? Am I that? But if you look at me when I'm at my skinniest and my fittest at weight, I look in great shape. But even when I'm not down to my weight, like I'm not big, I'm tiny. But someone saying to me that I look big could affect me quite a lot. But as I said, I've got a good support team that'll be like, you're just out of shape. Once you get back on track, you'll get it, and that's good. And right now, I've had a year out of my sport. Judo's a contact sport that you have to physically touch each other, and through COVID we've not been allowed to do that. We've only been allowed to do a little bit at a time, and doesn't matter how much running you do and how much fitness you do, it's not the same as a judo fight. It's never going to be the same as a judo fight. You have to do the fighting to be judo fit. So when you're on the mat and you're like, oh my God, I look massive now, but you've just got to get that in a mindset of, I'll get back to the way I used to be.
I kind of feel, obviously, I do judo now. I've done it for maybe about 10 years. I've now went on to the kind of coaching side of it. It's kind of hard when you've been out for nearly a year of doing the kind of sports. You don't get back into it till like you put in the hard work. You get the kind of motivation for your coaches or someone in your class as well. It's just sometimes folk that are doing judo, the kind of mental health drops just when they've not been in a kind of happy place kind of way.
Yeah, well, I do agree with that, because I think as much as like people might not want to say it, we learn in judo how to control our aggression. So when you go on that mat, you learn to throw people about, but you learn how to do it controlled. Do you know when you've had a bad day and then you get to go on a judo mat and you're throwing people about, that de-stresses you. It's like playing rugby. When you get to tackle someone, it de-stresses you, but it's you're having your happy time. So for me, I think a lot of people are, everything that they're sitting in the house or not being able to get that energy or to get their minds switched off. Judo's a good place to go and just switch off for the world and go, I'm on this mat to fight for 2 hours and just take all my anger of the world out. And I think that it's always been a thing for me. Like any sport's been that for me. Like I could have a bad day, but I know if I go on a judo mat, I just need to catch one person to make myself feel better. I could get thrown 100 times, but as long as I catch that one person, I'm like, it was a good day for me. I've been thrown 100 times, but I've caught that person I wanted to catch.
Right. That's the interview. Thanks again for letting me do it.